We are back on the road to City Hall, and as we first reported last night, City Councilwoman Melissa Mark Viverito has released the names of 30 of her newly elected colleagues who have pledged their support for her candidacy for City Council Speaker. My next guests' names are all on that list, and we wanted to talk with them about why Mark Viverito has won their backing. We welcome Brooklyn Councilman Jumaane Williams, who is running for Speaker himself, City Councilwoman-elect Lori Cumbo from Brooklyn, and from Queens, Democratic Councilman Jimmy Van Bramer and Republican Eric Ulrich. Good to see all of you.
Thanks for having me.
You know, something went on today down at the council, and I wasn't focused on it or anything like that, but a lot of you were actually sworn in today. I thought everything was going to happen on January 1st. What's that all about?
Well, I think Lori should go because
I was sworn in today, and it was wonderful. It was a ceremony with my mother and my father were there, and my chief of staff, and it was an incredible experience. Following right after me was Councilmember Inez Barron, and so the two of us were sworn in today, and it was really a very important and intimate family experience, and I was very glad to be able to do it today.
So now I live in your district, so I guess now you are now officially my councilwoman, or does something now take effect on January 1st, or is it all done now?
Well, it is official today.
Okay.
We also are going to have inaugurations in our own district, so that way that experience could be shared with the entire district so that everyone can share in the excitement and the transition of power officially, and mine will be in the middle of January.
Okay.
I think most people don't recognize most elected officials take their oath before. I think the president does as well. You do it before, and then you do a ceremonial one for people to see. So you're the council member, and you can do what you need to do starting off on day one.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that with the mayor, and we spent a lot of time on that, and it happens like an hour or two before midnight or something like that. I didn't realize that for the council members it was this far out, a couple of weeks out. So you all are all duly reelected. Let's talk about yesterday's announcement, and I've got to start with you, Eric Ulrich. I don't know that I've ever seen a Republican, apart from the rest of his conference, sort of step forward and say, this is who I want for City Council Speaker. Did you do that as a Queens member, as an independent Republican? Did you talk it over with your fellow Republicans?
This was a very important decision, and like all the decisions that I have to make at City Hall, I try to do it keeping in mind what I think is in the best interest of the people that I represent in Queens. And I truly believe that Melissa Mark Viverito was going to be the next speaker. I had heard and read about up until that point that a number of my colleagues were starting to coalesce around her, and I thought that I could play a very important role in cementing a solid majority of support for her candidacy.
And Jimmy Van Bramer, I mean, there were other Queens Democrats who were in the running, Mark Weprin in particular. And I wonder how you came to a decision that Melissa Mark Viverito would be the best choice.
Well, look, I've been a member of the Progressive Caucus of the City Council since I was elected in 2009. I'm proud to be a member of the Progressive Bloc, and what has brought me to the bloc and to this decision are the values, the progressive values that I ran on, that I serve on. And I believe very much in what we're doing. I believe it's the right thing to do. I believe very much in the power of electing the first Hispanic woman, the first woman of color, to the second most powerful office in the city of New York. That, I believe, resonates not only with me, but with my district. And I feel very good about this decision. It is not a slight on anyone else who may have been in the race, but I very strongly believe in Melissa Mark Viverito, in her leadership abilities, in the convictions that she holds, and I think she's going to be a great leader.
4 years ago, or the last time there was a vote for Speaker, Queens voted basically as a bloc. Did something change in the interim?
Well, I mean, it was a very different situation last year where Speaker Christine Quinn was essentially running for re-election and essentially unopposed. Charles Barron did run, but the decision had essentially already been made, and in that case I had a pre-existing relationship with Speaker Quinn for many, many years, and I was happy to vote for her for Speaker. I didn't see that as being about a bloc per se. I think it was about the person who I had a relationship with, who I believed in strongly, and who I believed I would work well with. It is the same with Melissa Mark Viverito.
Jumaane Williams, you wanted to be considered for Speaker. What made you change your mind and throw your support behind Melissa Mark Viverito?
Well, I was a candidate, and I said from the beginning, even on this show, that my candidacy actually wasn't about me. It was about ideas I wanted to make sure were put forth. And most importantly, I jumped in right after Councilmember Tish James was elected public advocate, and it was very annoying to hear conversations about we no longer have to discuss diversity. And so I wanted to make sure that stayed at the forefront. I believe that it did. And foremost of all, I'm a man of my word. And both Melissa and I had pledged our vote to the block. I'm a proud member, a founding member of the Progressive Caucus. I'm a proud member of the block, and that superseded anything. And what we agreed on was that wherever the block coalesces, that's where our vote would go. I did not know at that time who would be, but I did pledge my vote, and I'm a man of my word. And when I saw where the block might be coalescing around, it's not my job to impede, it's my job to progress. So I thought the best thing to do.
Lori Cumbo, 15 of the 21 freshman members of the council supported or are supporting Melissa Mark Viverito. Was this a decision that was made before or after, in your case and the case of the other freshmen that you know, was this a decision that was made before Election Day, or was this something that came about later?
No, this has been, even prior to us becoming elected, this is a process that has started long before today. This has been going on for quite some time. And so I felt very proud, as well as my other freshman members, that we were a part of every single aspect of the decision-making process. And so this required many meetings, often 2, 3, 4 of them, meetings a week. It required a lot of conference calls. It required retreats. It required many different individuals coming together. And as new members, it was very important that we made sure that our voice was a part of that, and we worked very diligently to make sure that new ideas, new perspectives, and we all have districts that we have to represent, and our districts don't necessarily understand ideas of not getting an equal share of the pie because you're new to the council.
Well, what assurances were made as far as that would matter to freshmen, as far as your ability to, I guess, get chairmanships, be heard, get allocations for your district? What's going to happen?
Well, I would say that the freshmen in many ways are going to be treated equally across the board. There are a lot of nuances in terms of the fact that freshmen coming in are going to have only 2 4-year terms, where now in the council there are members that are going to have 3 4-year terms. And so in many ways we will be at the same level and never really have an opportunity to have seniority as it's currently defined. So what was very important for us is to respect seniority and respect the fact that potentially some of the key chairmanships may not go to us this time, but the next time we feel very confident with experience under our belt and a progressive council, understanding that we will have the same rights to those same positions in the next 4 years.
But it's important to add this so people know, there was no pledge made that was based on who was going to get what. The most important thing we pledged to was an ideal, an idea, and I think people struggle to understand that, but I think that's what made us stronger.
I want to ask you more about that, as well as some reaction from some folks who are not so happy with the decision that you all have announced. We're going to do that with this panel in just a moment. Stay with us. Later on, we'll sit down with the outgoing, I should say, head of the city's housing authority and talk about the recent settlement that the city made with public housing residents over moldy apartments. We're back in a minute.